That's when a militant environmental activist, Amanda Willis, straight off the Appalachian Trail on a personal sabbatical to, quote, reconnect with the spirit of the forest womb, end quote, as her blog described it. Miss Willis was an experienced survivalist in tune with the perils and rhythms of the great outdoors. So when she failed to exit the mountains at her predetermined endpoint and rendezvous with her ride, immediate alarms are raised about that this was no ordinary vanishing act or a case of an amateur nature lover going lamentably unprepared into the wild. Her gear was military grade, essentially a roving base camp's worth of supplies and communications equipment that allowed her to upload trail photos and microblogs from the field as she went. Until her last transmission, coming northwest from the upper headwaters of the Cherahola River in one of the least charted sectors of the Smokies, accompanying the post was an image of what seemed at first to be an elk or bear carcass fouling the riverbank ahead. But when authorities were able to make out the fine details within that final photo through grisly magnification and contrast enhancement, they deduced Willis may have stumbled onto the remains of a human skeleton, one that appeared to have been crushed and gnawed upon, with shards of bone splintered into the black rocky soil, as if discarded by some rending creature far larger and more powerful than should exist in nature. That's when the big guns got called in. Search and rescue emergency response teams from county, state, even federal law enforcement divisions were called into the Smokies to mobilize a manhunt for Willis on an unprecedented scale that hadn't been seen since Dennis Martin's disappearance back in 1969. Coming at the case from the assumption the activist had unwittingly become the prey of a highly organized hunting party, squad after squad of armed men began airlifting into the deepest, most inaccessible hollows and ravines the rangers adamantly warned them to avoid, where these holler beings were said to dwell. What resulted over the next 2 sweltering summer months, grid searches through the briared, ivy-choked Smoky wilderness, was nothing short of a waking nightmare to even the most hardened agents rotated in fresh from departmental SWAT operations in Chicago and New York City.